friends in Jesus Christ. This is the 15th episode of our Bible study series. This class is on the book of Numbers. We have already studied so far 3 books of the Pentateuch: Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus. This book of Numbers is the 4th book of the Pentateuch, and the last one is the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Numbers, its Greek name is coming from its English name is coming from the Greek word arithmoi. Arithmoi means numbers. So the English name of the book of Numbers is coming from the Greek word arithmoi, which means numbers. Its Hebrew name is Bamidbar. Bamidbar means in the wilderness. Or the first 5 books of the Bible, that is the books of the Pentateuch, are known in Hebrew by the first word or words used in the Bible, in this book. For example, the first book of the Pentateuch, Genesis, is known as Bereshit in Hebrew, means in the beginning. And the second book, Exodus, is known as Shemot in Hebrew. Shemot means names. The English Bible says these are the names of those who went to Egypt. A third book is Leviticus, known in Hebrew as Vayikra, and he called Vayikra. And the fourth book is book of Numbers, and that is in Hebrew, its name is Bamidbar. And the fifth book of the Pentateuch is Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy, its Hebrew name is Devarim. As you may know, the Pope follows this tradition of naming his encyclicals or apostolic exhortations with the first word or words of the document, just as in the books of the Pentateuch follow the custom. So this book in Hebrew begins with the word Bamidbar, in the wilderness. So we have 2 names, one Greek name, one Hebrew name. Which is better? The Greek name comes from numbers. You see, as you know, the meaning of the word arithmoi is numbers. And the name Numbers is applied to the book because this book starts with numbers. For example, the first chapter of the book of Numbers begins like this: the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness. In the wilderness, you see, Bamidbar. Hebrew, it starts with Bamidbar Vayehi Yahweh Moses. Okay, Moses. The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the 2nd year, so and so. Then verse 2, take a census of all the congregation of the people, by families, by fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male head by head. Take numbers of all the people. Take a census. So this book begins with the question of numbers. It is the first census taken of the people of Israel. This is the first chapter of the book of Numbers. Then going over towards the end of the book, that is chapter 26, second part of this book begins with chapter 26. There also again we see a census. The census of the new generation. The old generation dies out and new generation comes up. And the history of the new generation begins in chapter 26. It begins like this: after the plague, the Lord said to Moses and to Eleazar the son of Aaron the priest, take a census of all the congregation of the people of Israel from 20 years old and upward, by their fathers' houses, all in Israel who are able to go forth to war. So because of the 2 big census, that is list of numbers contained in this book is known in Greek arithmoi, numbers. But in Hebrew, the book begins with the words Ba Midbar. In the wilderness, the Lord said to Moses. Which one is better name, Greek name or Hebrew name? Because of the accidental presence of numbers, this book is titled Arithmoi, numbers in Greek. Whereas in Hebrew, first of all, the first reason is the first word is Bamidbar. Second, this word is meaningful for this book because all the events that are narrated in this book take place in the wilderness. Hence, scholars would say probably the Hebrew name Bamidbar is a better name for this book. What is the purpose of this book? Purpose of this book. We may say the purpose of the book is to teach the people of Israel to obey the Lord, obedience to the Lord. The book has the purpose of teaching obedience of the people to the Lord, and also it has the purpose to encourage the people of Israel trust in the ongoing promise of the Lord. Trust in the ongoing promise of the Lord. Two purposes. First is teach them obedience, the lesson of obedience. Second, to encourage them to trust in the ongoing promises of the Lord, of Yahweh. Looking at the content of the book, this book has 36 chapters. 36 chapters, and the first part is divided into two sections. The first 25 chapters speak about Israel's journey from Sinai to the end of the old generation. Starting the whole book is subject matter is the journey of the people of Israel from Sinai towards the land of promise. And first 25 chapters speak about the journey from Sinai until the end of the first generation. Then the next 11 chapters speak about the new generation. First generation dies out in the wilderness because of disobedience, and the second generation is coming up. So the story of two generations of Israel is narrated in the 36 chapters of this book. Looking at the structure of this book, detailed structure of this book, we can say that chapters 1 to 10 is preparation to leave Sinai. Preparation to leave Sinai. Then 10, 11 to 14, 45, we have journey from Sinai to Paran. Then we have chapter 15, that is the regulations on sacrifices and also about capital punishment. Then chapter 16 to 19, challenge to Aaron's authority, and duties of priests also are narrated in these chapters 16 to 19. Then chapters 19 to 21, 20 and 21, death of Miriam and Aaron, then sin of Moses, then victory in war, that is chapters 20 and 21. Then chapters 20 to 24, that is Balaam, a pagan prophet. Balaam's 4 oracles of blessings on Israel. 4 oracles of blessing of Balaam, a pagan prophet, on Israel. Then chapter 25, the conclusion of the first section, that is final rebellion and death of the old generation. Chapter 25. Then chapters 26 to 30, we have new generation. We have read earlier from chapter 26, census, inheritance, sacrifice and vows. 26 to 30. 31 to 34, conquest of East Jordan and divisions of the land. 35 and 36, Levitical cities keeping each one's portion of land. These are the contents of the 36 chapters of the book of Numbers. What message does this book give to the readers? The book of Numbers teaches us that God who liberated the people of Israel is also the God who punished the people of Israel for the rebellion. He is a liberator. At the same time, he punishes sin and rebellion. Both God's wrath and mercy are narrated, pointed out in this book. Both God's fury, anger, and mercy. And hence, the main teaching of the book is obey God. Obey God. And the book is telling the new generation, learn from the experience of your parents in the past. God's wrath, fury fell on them and they died on the way to the land of promise. They could not enter the land of promise. Do not repeat their folly. Obey God. When we read this book of Numbers, let's also take the lesson of obedience to God. May God bless you all.